Persistence is a key fundamental to any part of success in life. And I don't just mean manifestation, I mean everything. Think of like the highest paid actors or actresses. Think of the top footballers. Think of scientists that have won Nobel Prizes. These individuals would have dedicated years to practicing and perfecting their craft to become the top of their field. They would have shown up day after day, pushing themselves to the absolute limit, going past levels that they thought were possible. Long nights, early hours. Obviously, this is all physical 3D stuff, but you get the point. They were there every single day, working towards their highest ideal, becoming the version of them who was successful, becoming the best version that they could possibly be. Manifestation is no different. If you have a specific person goal, or a manifesting a job goal, or a self-concept goal, your role is to show up every single day, persisting in being, doing, or having, through the use of your imagination, that which you desire to be, do, or have. And when I say persisting, I don't just mean show up every day and do a couple of affirmations, but then go and panic that it isn't working, complain to your friend about how things aren't happening, put the video on their social media to as loud as possible so you could hear if it was a woman laughing in the background. I mean none of that. I mean showing up, changing your thoughts, changing your feelings, working on the way that you act and react to ensure that it aligns with what you would be thinking, feeling, acting, or reacting like if you were your desired version. I mean persisting and showing up every single day to put in the work to change the cycle of who you have been through your state of being, through your state of consciousness. If we do what we've always done, we will get what we've always gotten. So instead, we need to understand who we're claiming to be, or who we desire to be, and then persist in being that person through the use of our imagination as consistently and dominantly as possible. But of course, in order to persist in something, we need to know what we're persisting in. So many people have such general goals, and if you genuinely want a general goal, that's fine. But so many people have specific things that they want, but they go at it generally. Let me give you a silly analogy. Let me say, if I was to say to you, hey, meet me in Reading. Reading's a city in the UK. I'll meet you in Reading. Where? That could have you walking around Reading for hours hoping that we bump into each other. But if I was more specific to say, hey, meet me at the KFC in Reading, you know instantly where to go. It makes your journey to get there so much clearer than if I was to say, I'll meet you in Reading. You have a whole city that you could potentially walk around. It is the same with your manifestation. If you get clear on where you're heading, deeply clear to the point where you know it inside and out, then the journey to get there, what you're persisting in to get to that point, becomes so much clearer and so much easier. Once you have a clear definition of where you're heading, now you can start understanding what you're persisting in. So you're like, okay, I know that I want a relationship that is loyal, we live together, it's with this specific person, and I feel respected, just for example purposes. Now you can sit there and say, okay, if I was in a relationship where I felt respected, they were loyal, we lived together and it was loving and all these things, how would I think on an average day-to-day basis? And you'll probably think things like about gratitude of how the relationship is. You'll think about dates you can do. You'll think about going home to them. You'll think about how your mum really loves them and how their dad really loves you and things like that. These are, of course, just some examples. I'm not saying that's what you would definitely think, but those are the kind of things that you'd think. Okay, now that we got that clear, what would we feel? Okay, well, we'd probably feel calm because we know that they'd be home. We'd feel at peace. We'd feel secure. We'd feel love. We'd feel all these feelings. Okay, now we know what kind of things that we'd feel like. What about actions and reactions? Now, of course, this one is a little bit more, you have to be a bit more careful on because you don't want to be acting as you would in a relationship and end up getting in your own way. For example, if it's someone that you're manifesting and you're not quite on that level of being together yet, you obviously don't want to maybe send them a sext or a nude or something because that's what you would do if it was your person, because that could get you in trouble. So with the actions, what I recommend doing is getting clear understanding of the actions that you would take, so that you could then think about yourself taking them more so than actually taking them. Because the actions that you take come from the mind first anyway. There's very, very few things that you do that are a natural reaction without some kind of thought. And in 99% of the cases, when it comes to specific person or job or something like that, typically speaking, it's not going to be a natural reflex. You would have thought about it before you've done it. So therefore, if it's an action that you would take in your end result, just simply thinking about doing it, or like in your imagination as though you're doing it, is perfectly fine. But the reason why I've got you to do this, or why I recommend doing this, is because by having the end goal, you know where you're going. You know what you're persisting in. By getting a clear understanding of who you would be if you were in that end goal, you now know what you're supposed to be persisting in. So it isn't a case of, well, I've done my affirmations, now I can go off and do all this other crap that doesn't benefit me. It would instead be a case of, if I was in my end result, how would I be thinking right now? How would I be reacting to this circumstance right now? How would I be feeling right now? If what you would be thinking, feeling, or acting like in your end result matches the general sort of vibe of what you're thinking, feeling, and acting like now, then you are doing the right thing. You are persisting in being the right version. But if it doesn't, that shows a disconnect between who you would be and who you are now. And if we do what we've always done, we'll get what we've always gotten. Therefore, that is when you catch yourself and you choose to consciously think new thoughts, feel new feelings, take new actions if necessary, and persist in your end result. And this consistent, nope, that's not what I should be doing anymore, this is, and then you keep doing this process, will make your new state of being that which you desire to be. The things that you think, feel, and are aware of being true make up your state of being. The more that you persist in this state of being, i.e. the more that you go back to placing yourself in this state of being through adjusting your thoughts, feelings, and awareness, the more it will become your personality. Because a state of being that is resided within consistently and persistently enough becomes natural, and it becomes a part of who you are. And of course, if these thoughts, feelings, and awareness become part of who you are, that by extension means you are now the person who has that which you desire to have on the internal. And it is only a matter of time before that reflects on the external. But it takes persistence. It takes going back to that space consistently, especially when you don't want to. When you have those moments where all you want to do is just cry or just sit there and dwell on those inner conversations where you're really giving them the business about how they hurt you and things like that. In those moments, that's when it matters the most. Of course, deal with the emotions. You're not bottling things up. I'd never recommend bottling things up and making yourself feel psychologically worse. But it is those moments where, as soon as you can, jump back on it. Is this how I would be thinking, feeling, and acting like? If yes, then okay, that's fine. If no, okay, how would I be thinking, feeling, and acting like? Well, I would be thinking loving thoughts about them. I would be feeling calm and peace. I would be acting like everything is okay. There you go. Do that stuff now. Place yourself in that state of awareness. Let your pride go, let your ego go, and just place yourself in that state of awareness and persist in it, reside in it, until it becomes who you are. Because once it becomes who you are, that's when your subconscious mind goes, now it's out there, and your reality shifts. But in order to do this, it takes persistence in it. The only reason why you're in the situation you're in now is because you persisted in those feelings of fear, those thoughts of lack, those doubts, those insecurities. You persisted in acting insecure. You persisted in, telling yourself that you weren't qualified for these jobs. You persisted in doing these things over and over and over again, so much so that it became your natural state of being, which become your personality, or at least part of your personality. It is the same the other way around. If we can cause an effect of doing one thing, then we can, by doing the opposite, cause the opposite effect. So even though it may have been easier for you to persist in these negative things because they were justified by your senses, and as humans, we typically have a great ability to just prepare for the worst and expect the worst. But if you could do it with the negative, then you can do it with the positive. And if persisting in the negative created the negative, then it is only a simple cause and effect state where persisting in the positive will create the positive. Not cause and effect. What's the other one that I'm thinking? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If your action of persisting in the negative creates the negative, then the equal and opposite reaction will be, if you persist in the positive, you'll create the positive. So, persistence in your desired outcome doesn't look like doing 10 minutes of affirmations every single day and then thinking like crap the rest of it and wondering why it's not working. Like I did in my video that I spoke about, I think it was Monday. Yeah, Monday's video where I said that I was doing, half an hour's worth of affirmations and then tarot readings and talking about how things aren't going well and such things like that. That's not persisting. Yes, you may have persisted in doing affirmations, but you're not persisting in your dominant state. You're not persisting in manifesting. And this is one thing that I think a lot of people need to get through their head, that showing up every single day, while is commendable, and I definitely congratulate you for doing it, persisting by showing up and doing 10 minutes, but then thinking like crap for another 2 hours is not persisting. That's like just showing up to basketball practice, shooting 1-3, and then sitting there on your phone. That's not persisting. That's not practicing. That's not getting better. Just because you've shown up doesn't mean that you're persisting and practicing and getting better. So when I say persistence, persisting in the end result, I mean a determined vigilance to say as much thoughts as I can possibly catch that are placing me in the end undesired result, I'm going to redirect back to the desired state. When I have time to do so and I feel inspired to, I'm going to place myself in the end result. I'm going to work on my detachment. I'm going to work on these things that are not benefiting me. I'm going to do the hard work even when my body wants to absolutely do nothing at all. Because if I truly desire to be that version who has that thing, then I will persist in it like my life depended on it. Some of the most successful people out there, they will say that kind of sort of general thing where it's like, I did this because there was no other choice. I was not going to get a normal job, so I showed up to football practice 12 hours a day because I needed to make it as a footballer, for example. Obviously, there's just one, there are loads out there, but that's persistence, and that's what you need to be doing. When I was manifesting Katie, and this will be the final thing that I say, but when I was manifesting Katie, my journey to reconciliation wasn't long. But the reason it wasn't long was because I can genuinely, honestly say 95% of my daily thoughts that were negative and redirected them. I was on it. I was so vigilant with my mind, so vigilant with placing myself in the end state, that my subconscious mind literally had no room to absorb anything outside of being in that relationship. Now, of course, I've grown since then, so I know that it would be easier for me to manifest her back now than it was then in terms of quantity of work. But the lesson there still stands. I persisted in my new version as much as I possibly could to make sure my subconscious mind had nothing else to go off of. But I really hope this video has helped. I really hope you do take my message on board with the element of persisting, because like I said, so many people say, I've been persisting for so long, but their persistence looks like doing 20 minutes of affirmations and then stalking the person's Instagram, or, watching tarot readings or looking for the next answer on YouTube and things like that, all coming from that place of, I don't have it, I need to sort of see what's going on. You're just persisting in not having it by doing those kinds of things. So cut all the crap that doesn't benefit you and only reside in what will get you that end result. Only do what is actually persisting in your end result, and your success is yours. Thank you so much for watching. Drop me a like and a comment because it pushes it out on the algorithm and helps other people see this message. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and click that bell icon because YouTube doesn't always recommend my videos, and I might drop a little nugget that will change your life. So I highly recommend you do that. But thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.